So it's Raven Tactical here. We're going to talk about the coronavirus. I don't know why I keep calling it corona. So you have the coronavirus, right? So the World Health Organization put out a kind of a threat level on it, right? So it originated from China, and the rumor mill is China created this engineered virus. Whether that's true or not, we'll never probably know. China's pretty secretive. I don't believe it's only 70 people dead. Not with the amount of effort China is going down to shutting down cities and all the things there. So pay attention to that, right? And realize that China is not exactly the cleanest people on earth. The way they eat, the way they have their entire food, the way they kind of have their mass markets, and the things they eat are kind of gross, like eating bats, eating uncooked bats, you know. So I mean, yeah, so you have the potential of also not just an engineered side of a virus, but you also have just creating a virus. Like, you know, you're creating this pandemic kind of situation where you're eating disgusting things, but you probably shouldn't, and you're eating it without cooking it properly. So you have two kind of things. The interesting part is we are literally 100 years from the Spanish flu. So World War One, towards the end of World War One, everybody was coming home on ships and things, and everybody was going back. World War One ended, so everybody's going back to their countries, defeated. You know, the German side was defeated. The Russians were going through their entire revolution towards communism, which sucks. But all these countries went back, and all of a sudden the Spanish flu kicked off. And this is all with ships, mind you, right? Nobody had air travel. Nobody had this. And maybe that's part of the reason why it spread a little bit faster, because people were on ships longer versus air. But still, you know, you're kind of doing the twofold concept. Reaching more people or just incubating it on a slow-moving ship. So it killed 50 to 100 million people. It killed more than World War One, World War Two put together, total. So you're talking a pretty significant amount of people, and they were talking about how there was 1.5 to close to 2 billion people on the earth at the time. That's a lot of people. But so Netflix has a show, ironically, at the same time this is coming into twofold, called Pandemic, and it wasn't made today, but they do talk about a large focus is on the Spanish flu and vaccines, and they do show both sides, the people who are anti-vax and people who are pro-vax, right? So they do show both sides, and it's not like it's how would I put it, it's not like it's one side and, you know, displaying people as stupid. It shows both sides of the argument fairly so far. I've made it through a couple episodes. Do I think there's validity on, or there's validation on having a vaccine? In some cases, I think it is, but I think, in my opinion, you should have the freedom to choose what you want. Now, if you choose not to, and something does happen that was preventable, you know, that's your problem to face, right? Now, I think in this country, we have to have that level of freedom. Doesn't guarantee safety. So you choosing to do what you want to do is up to you. And I'm fine with that concept. Some of the things, though, with this virus, though, I don't think it's something that you need to panic. Like, we don't need to go freak out and panic and worry about a zombie apocalypse just yet. I think for the most part, we need to be smart about it. Be alert, be aware of what your surroundings are. Things like SHOT Show was a good example of Chinese New Year, a giant Chinese tourist spot. All these people that went to SHOT Show wound up with what they call SHOT Show flu. I don't think it's necessarily that virus, but a lot of people got sick from there. And it's interesting to see how, if it was an engineered concept, how, man, it could be something where it could spread easily and weaken a bunch of things. So far, it hasn't killed anyone that's not super healthy, and it just basically gives people a weakened state. The people that it is killed so far is elderly people that have like weakened immune systems and all that. So it hasn't had a huge, you know, as far as we're told, hasn't had a huge mortality rate. But then again, China wouldn't tell you that anyways. So here, if it's here and you got to think about your surroundings. We live in a small town, and we live in a small rural area where the biggest town is maybe 50,000, which still is quite a bit, but we don't go to that town except for once a week, maybe even that less. So, I mean, you can't sit there and panic and walk around looking goofy with a mask all the time. I would say just wash your hands, practice good hygiene. Um, you know, probably avoid mass transit as much as you can, and stay clean. Have hand sanitizer with you at minimum. Avoid a lot of personal contact with strangers. If you work in an office setting, be very, very self-conscious about washing your hands, staying clean. If you see people that are slightly sick, keep your distance. Pretend like they have airborne AIDS. How else would I put this to you? If it did become a pandemic, there isn't much you can do. Like, you can't, it's not like global terrorism comes to your house and you can fight it with a gun. It's like earthquakes and all that. You can't fight it in the sense of physically fight it, but you would have to somehow stay indoors more. You would have to do this. Eventually things like this burn out. So that's interesting too. But it is something that I would think should open your eyes as far as prepping and homesteading goes. It should open your eyes on the possibility of getting sick, the possibility that you could face things like this. So, plague and, having a big pandemic kind of sickness is something to think about. And it is something you could prepare for. It's something that you can at least, think about and kind of get to a point where you're kind of looking at it from a perspective of maybe, maybe I do need a couple extra masks. Maybe I do need more hand sanitizer. Maybe I do need more soap. Maybe I need more hygiene products. Maybe I wasn't considering having all this soap or shower things, but you know what? Maybe I wouldn't be too hard to get a couple Tyvek suits if you needed it to, kind of thing. But look into that. That's pretty much all I got for now. If things ever did kick off a little bit, I would try to make something that gets sent out for you guys right away. But it is difficult with our internet sucking. And once I hit 1,000 subscribers, which we're about 413 away, I'll be able to do live and I'll be able to get something out right away. And then our internet, hopefully we're looking at within the next 60 days, should actually become a lot better. So we should actually be able to do more live from the house once we get to that point, and I should be able to upload more from the house instead of trying to find Wi-Fi sources or using my own personal Wi-Fi. So with that, it's Raven Tactical out. Have a great day. Enjoy yourself. Avoid the chicken of the caves soup as much as possible, and don't die.